Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generations discussion on the fallout from Boruto chapter 75. And yes, sir, we got a lot to talk about, in particular the Otsutsuki god who's been name dropped into the story, Shibai Otsutsuki, a being who's consumed so many chakra fruits that he was able to ascend to god status and become the god of the Otsutsuki clan, with powers that are so fearsome that even Momoshiki had to step in and tell Boruto that Amado might be a liar, but for as crazy as all the stuff that he said about Shibai, guess what, fam? It's all true. This isn't just someone above Baryon mode. This is someone who could blink and wipe out Baryon mode faster than Minato finished on the night that he and Kushina made Naruto, which is nothing less than expected for the Yellow Flash. A being so powerful that screaming caused lightning and thunderstorms. Waving his arms caused winds so powerful that natural disasters struck, and he possessed Damon's ability to reflect attacks back onto the person trying to attack him. It's a truly terrifying level of power, combined with a set of hacks that made Jigen seem as about as big of a threat as Udon in the fight, and make Ishiki seem as about as big of a threat as Kiba in a fight. They're so weak in comparison, you don't even think twice about them. They're just there, and based off of how strong he's ridden if he pulls up on Earth, I'm fully expecting a Hogyoku Aizen situation where Aizen's spiritual pressure was strong enough that people were just exploding once he arrived on Katakura Town. The Otsutsuki god should be touching down, and the entire village should just combust into flames with how powerful he's being described as being. He has every sign worthy of being the final villain for the story of Boruto, and it's not just because of the power, which this video is going to explain to you why power alone is not the only reason for the Otsutsuki god being a final villain. There are more symbolic reasons for why the Otsutsuki god needs to be the last villain or the last Otsutsuki who we see in the series, and the impact of the Otsutsuki god would have on the story is rivaled only by the impact that Established Titles has by working with One Tree Planet, which is a good time to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Established Titles. Established Titles is a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping with global reforestation efforts. It's a project based in historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds, or lords and ladies in English. With Established Titles, you get at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, and an official certificate with the crest, which has a unique plot number to show you your land. Established Titles plants a tree with every order they receive and work with charities like One Tree Planet and Trees for the Future to support global reforestation efforts. Just as Naruto gets to call himself Lord Hokage, you can officially call yourself Lord or Lady, which now that I have this certificate calling me a Lord, it's going to be on my desk, and everybody who comes to my office has to call me the Lord. And you can get it on your credit card or your plane tickets, or you sussy bakas can even use it on your dating profiles. If you go for the romantic route, you can also purchase the couples pack, which comes with adjoining plots of land. The first 200 people purchasing the title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot within a few minutes of walking distance from it. Depending on how many of you guys want to become a lord or a lady, we can build our own little Naruto Explained kingdom. My late grandmother, who just passed away, not only loved flowers but also trees as well, so I'm gonna purchase one to honor my late grandmother. It makes an amazing last minute gift. Established Titles is actually running an early Black Friday sale, plus if you use the promo code EXPLAIN, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/explain to get your gift and help support the channel. Thank you again to Established Titles for sponsoring today's video. So here's the thing, the Otsutsuki god being the final villain works for quite a few different reasons. We'll go through the various reasons why in this order. Closure for Masashi Kishimoto as a writer, the symbolism coming full circle in terms of Buddhist themes in Naruto and the Kishimoto era of Boruto have had, and the power perspective, which is the easiest to explain and will by default be the last thing that we go over. Starting with closure for Kishimoto as a writer, anyone who's read Samurai 8, which I'm assuming based off the manga sales is probably all 10 of us who've read Samurai 8, you know exactly why I'm saying this. There were lines in this chapter that felt eerily similar, though different, to what Samurai 8 had, where there are lines by Shibai Otsutsuki abandoning his body in a way that went to another dimensional plane altogether entirely. That's right out of Samurai 8. Even though Samurai 8 will never get an anime and has never attracted the attention where somebody should get upset over a spoiler window that isn't just closed, it's buried with Konohamaru's self-respect in Boruto. I'm going to avoid spoilers for right now because at this point I don't need to go into spoilers in order to make the point clear to you. Samurai 8 was able to prove quite a few things to Kishimoto. Most notably, it's not as easy to make back-to-back large hits like Akira Toriyama did with Dr. Slump and with Dragon Ball, like how Togashi did with Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter, or Hiro Mashima did with Rave Master and Fairy Tail. Samurai 8 had a lot of cool concepts, but it was a failure to Japanese fans and it was dead on arrival with Western fans. A much larger story was pretty much forced to speed up due to the cancellation, and in Boruto, elements of Samurai 8 have begun to be introduced into the story. We could very well be seeing the very elements that Masashi Kishimoto thought would work with Samurai 8 being given their full chance to shine here, only tweaked to fit the lore of the Naruto universe. However, the second point is the most important point, which is the Buddhist reasons behind this. Look, you guys who are longtime fans of the channel have heard me say numerous times, if you look into Japanese folklore, Japanese mythology, and Asian religions, a lot of the stuff that Masashi Kishimoto writes begins to make a lot of sense, from the jutsu names, the character designs, character motivations, character manners. I consistently said ever since Boruto's manga first came out that if Naruto's story was heavy on Samsara, then Boruto's story would eventually reach a point of nirvana, and when we got Ishiki's eye pattern after the Dharma wheel slash the noble 8 trifold path, I tripled down on this line of thinking, especially after seeing the Ishin Boshi wish-granting mallet on Ishiki's body and cloak, which this new chapter just revealed Ishiki potentially had a way to grant the wish that Amato had, just like a wish-granting mallet. Who'd have ever thought it? So I say all this to say Naruto's manga was rooted in Samsara, in particular the 6 past powers. Samsara is the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Boruto's story by Mikio Ikimoto, the artist for Boruto and longtime assistant to Masashi Kishimoto, by his own words in 2018, he said Boruto's a story about breaking free of familiar bonds, breaking free of ties, breaking free of expectations, and shaking off the inheritance of one's own family. This is being done by showing the era of 6 past power levels are being left behind, which is why I initially called Ishiki a sage of 8 paths. After we saw that 8 trifold path in his eye, and with him having a higher rank than Kaguya, and him being so much more powerful than Naruto and Sasuke, the two people who Hagoromo briefly gave 6 past chakra, and each of them in Boruto had a physical representation of 6 past powers in the form of Naruto having 6 past sage mode, evident by the lack of orange pigment rings that stretch to the black outline of his eyes, and Sasuke having possession of the Rinnegan. The body and the eyes of the Sage of 6 Paths were essentially useless with Naruto and Sasuke. This was needed to move us to a point where understanding and enlightenment occurs. Once ignorance and earthly cravings are extinguished via transcendent wisdom, the path of Nirvana is there, and Nirvana, once it's realized, frees one from the cycle of life, death, and rebirth that is Samsara. The Otsutsuki god is a representation of that when we look at Amato's word. Shibai Otsutsuki kept reviving himself with the karma, which is life, death, and rebirth. He kept eating chakra fruits, which harvest the genetic material and life force of a planet, and eventually he transcended beyond the cycle of life, death, and rebirth to a point where he no longer needs a physical body, but he still exists. Having him be the final boss after Boruto's done exactly what Mikio Ikimoto said was the theme of Boruto, which is breaking free of familiar bonds, ties, expectations, and shaking off the inheritance of one's family. Having Boruto fight a being of this nature due to what that represents, and have Boruto triumph in a way to bookend the Naruto franchise, with Boruto being the end. One story being the story about Samsara, and the other story being about reaching enlightenment and breaking free of that cycle from Samsara. It's a perfect bookend, and explains why Boruto as a series has taken the path that it's taken. Finally, for power, it's very self-explanatory when you really think about it, which is why I had that sarcastic tone at the beginning of the video. This is a being who is strong enough that there is nowhere else that you can go but down in terms of power. How do you top a god unless the god is like fusing with another god, which means Shibai Otsutsuki would have to fuse with Lady 1010, and we all know that 10-10 ain't doing that, because Shibai Otsutsuki, in terms of power, he ain't nothing special compared to 10-10. He's just a Pokemon that ate a bunch of rare candies and got his power level shot up, but he ain't got none of the skill. You got a celestial parasitic race. That's one thing. But facing the very god of that race, that's a completely other thing. This is an in-game moment. All jokes aside, this is an in-game moment where you've blown your wad in a way to where there's no stone left unturned, except going full-blown Samurai 8, which I will not go any further in this video due to spoilers in case somebody watching this video decides that they want to join the 10 of us. That way they can be the 11 of us who've read Samurai 8. That being said, I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. While you think that over, click here for my KRYPTONIAN SAIYAN video, or click here for this Naruto Explained video.